Analysis airfares and staff gaps solid a shadow on transatlantic travel rebound. Montreal, Chicago Airlines count on the cease of COVID checking out necessities in North America to boost up a rebound in transatlantic traffic, but soaring fares due to surging gas charges and staffing shortages may additionally slam the brakes on rising call for inside the global's largest global tour market. A U.S. requirement that arriving air tourists take a look at terrible for COVID-19 had been blamed by means of carriers for dampening call for. But every week after the White House scrapped the rule, airways are reporting a surge of hobby in global journey. That's a vibrant spot because the enterprise prepares an annual meeting of the International Air Transport Association (IATA) in Qatar. IATA Director Widespread and previous head of British Airways Willie Walsh expects Airways to prioritize key transatlantic routes that for years drove a huge slice of enterprise profits. I suppose they may reduce potential in other regions, Walsh told in advance of the June 1921 Doha collecting. United Airlines says searches for global travel from the United States, which includes Europe, have improved. Similarly, tour management platform TripActions said a 23% soar in international flight bookings to the U.S., helped with the aid of better call for from Northern Europe. U.S. airline executives had been advising clients no longer to put off their bookings if they're making plans to visit Europe, as the demand this summertime is on hearth. The surge in call for, however, comes at a time when companies on each sides of the Atlantic are grappling with staffing shortages, forcing them to cut ability. In Europe, giant labor strife, including short-term moves through cabin group overpay, has left passengers dealing with long lines and flight cancellations. That's raising questions over whether airlines or even airports have enough sources to satisfy increased demand. Transatlantic site visitors has already reached 85% of 2019 tiers, according to aviation analytics corporation Cirium. Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport on Thursday set a cap on the wide variety of passengers it will cope with at some point of the summertime tour season, citing exertion shortages and forcing airlines to reduce flights. The pass-by using considered one of Europe's busiest airports approach that airlines, which include KLM, the Dutch subsidiary of Air France KLM, should cancel an unspecified wide variety of flights. For customers, it manner higher fares and a tour enjoy more liable to disruption and frustration, stated Peter McNally, global sector lead for industrials materials and energy at research organization Third Bridge. The transatlantic is the sector's most beneficial tour market. In 2019, before the pandemic, transatlantic routes accounted for among 11% and 17% of passenger revenues on the big three U.S. carriers United Airlines, Delta Air Lines (NYSE), DAL, and American Airlines (NASDAQ, AAL). Air Canada, which not directly flies U.S. passengers overseas via its Canadian hubs, turned into witnessing stronger demand for Europe even earlier than Washington rescinded COVID testing requirement. The Montreal-based airline, the largest overseas provider within the U.S., informed that bookings from some U.S. towns for Europe are above 2019 ranges. For big conventional players like British Airways owner IAG, LAN, ICAG, Lufthansa and Air France KLM, the U.S. market is prime to earnings as they have a tendency to be more reliant on transatlantic revenues than U.S. competitors. United Airlines has the most important exposure to international site visitors among fundamental U.S. providers. It plans to increase its transatlantic community by means of 25% this summer time compared to 2019 tiers, even as its overall capability is projected to be lower. No airline is flying greater throughout the Atlantic Ocean this summer time than us, Chief Executive Scott Kirby, NYSE, KEX, stated on LinkedIn. Kirby and different airline CEOs are betting healthy U.S. household savings in addition to strong pent-up demand will help fill flights in spite of growing fares and developing dangers of an financial recession in the United States. Soaring fares. Inflation is at a record, excessive in both America and Europe, with Russia's invasion of Ukraine and China's COVID-related lockdowns worsening fee pressures. Central banks are underneath stress to raise hobby fees at a quicker clip, dimming international monetary possibilities. Meanwhile, jet gas prices have more than doubled within the past year. Booming travel demand is assisting carriers offset gasoline costs with higher fares. Average financial system fares for a return flight from the US to the EU are up 26% from their 2019 stages, Trip Actions says. Thus a long way, there's little proof of soaring costs hurting journey spending.